Thank you very much, Diego. I think we're all very excited to have this amazing panel here with us. I would like to add that it's an honor for laBITconf and for Latin America to have you all here. These are the companies that basically are making Bitcoin stay alive, and they're very important for the ecosystem, and it's going to be very interesting for us, for the audience, and for all the communities around the world that are watching this conference through streaming to hear your answers and your opinions about the current status of Bitcoin and the future going forward. So I would like you to quickly introduce yourselves. Maybe Jihan, you would like to start, and
I am Jihan. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Bitmain. Bitmain is one of the Bitcoin managing equipment providers.
Hello, I'm Sarge. I'm founder of the world's first mining pool in 2010, and I'm also involved in hardware wallets. I founded Reserve Wallet, which was also the first.
Hello everyone, my name is Marco Krohn. I'm the co-founder and CFO of Genesis Mining. We are a mining company that is mining different algorithms, so including Ethereum, Zcash recently, and of course Bitcoin.
Hi, my name is Marat Kichikov. I'm a managing partner of Bitfury Capital and responsible in the group for business development, strategy, investment side, mostly like this.
Hi, I'm Ivar Musman. I work for BTCC, based in Shanghai, with our CEO Bobby Lee and Samson Mao, and the rest of our 136 people. Yeah, I work in business development, and I'm having a fantastic time with the team in Shanghai, changing the world like you guys are, creating a better world for everyone. And it's awesome.
okay, this is, as you can see, this is a very international panel as well. I would like to start, Jihan, with the first question. We were all very worried about the halving a couple of months ago, right? We didn't know what the price was going to do. I mean, whether it was going to double or whether half of the mining was going to shut down. So I would like to hear from all of you. What was the effects on the halving on the mining industry, and if that has affected or not the hashing power and the willingness to continue working on the Bitcoin ecosystem? Just change the mic. Yeah.
At the time when Bitcoin was halving, 75% of the mining rigs on the market was the latest generation at the time. So even Bitcoin price had not increased or doubled, the hash rate of the total network hash rate would not drop very significantly. But the halving itself, for method of course, it will be a very dramatic change in revenue in terms of Bitcoin. But I think that trend will continue in the next tens of years. But as long as Bitcoin's network effect continues to expand and the value of Bitcoin continues to grow, I don't think it's another worrying issue for Bitcoin miners.
One of the greatest features of Bitcoin is that the economic model is predictable for a long time before any change happened. So the first halving was quite, there was some uncertainty how it will happen, but it turned out to be quite fine. So if I remember, the situation went up after the halving. And so we had already some experience, and I think the second halving was pretty fine, and I'm not afraid of the future of this project.
Marco?
Yes, as Jihan already said, we were in a situation where a lot of new hash power was installed before the halving took place. The miners act very rationally, and as you put it, the good thing about Bitcoin is it's predictable. Because miners act rationally, they were buying the hash power with the intention in the months before, with the halving in mind. So it was relatively obvious that not half of the network would suddenly drop off the network. The more interesting question actually is kind of what is going to happen in the future for another halving if we are in a situation where no new hardware generation exists and everything is closer to the equilibrium. Then things might have a more severe effect, but I still doubt that it is a massive change.
We believe it's very organic process, and it's like in the core of protocol, and it's drive technology. It makes miner get used to this idea of you know, that in the future awards will be much smaller and transaction processing fee will be much higher. So it's just good.
Yeah, you know, I think it was almost like a Y2K event. There was a lot of speculation, and in the end it turned out to be sort of like a non-event. I mean, if you remember, the price of Bitcoin was at one point, I think, around $250 for quite a long time. And then it jumped to right for 400 to 500 USD, and people were saying, oh my God, what's going to happen to halving? The reward's going to drop into. But if you think about it, it actually was, they had the equivalent reward, the miners, when it was at 250. And now we always went to 750. So I think it's not a problem. It's an organic process. It's happened before. We're going to go on. I think, you know, we're very bullish, I think, most here on the Bitcoin price. I don't think it's going to be a problem at all. It's just part of the game, part of the system.
Okay. I guess one of the most important features of Bitcoin is its decentralized nature. And we are all very happy and we all value decentralization. Now, there are some people that question whether actually Bitcoin is too centralized or too enough decentralization in terms of mining, exchanges, full nodes. Which are your views in terms of the current status and where the whole protocol could go moving forward and how it could look like in a couple of years? Jihan, would you like to start?
I think compared with when Bitcoin started, I think the situation in terms of decentralization has really improved a lot. Especially of the created Bitcoin and maybe control like 100% of the hash rate himself and continue the mining for about 1 year. And right now, the mining is become more expert, becomes more like an expert job, and like everyone can do mining more without basic equipment. However, it's still decentralized. We have like tens of thousands of customers who still have mining rigs, and we saw those big mining farms, lots of investors and miners behind that thing. So it's still decentralized. At the beginning of Bitcoin, they have an illusion that it's very decentralized because everyone can use the GPU to man. However, at that time, because of the knowledge improved, only a few hundred people actually become mining with the GPU. Right now, I think the situation is much better than before. More people knows about mining and they want to invest in mining. So I think in terms of decentralization, right now the situation is not that bad as some people imagine.
I think there are enough decentralization, and we should be very cautious about any changes in the protocol and any changes in incentive models to be sure that we don't make anything forced. So, because decentralization and the concept of Bitcoin is one of the highest priority feature of the Bitcoin. Satoshi promised decentralized system. He didn't promise, for example, low fees. It was just a coincidence. So we should care about decentralization and be sure that we won't break things.
Yes, I fully agree with you. Bitcoin's decentralization is its most important property, so we have to protect it in order to have a Bitcoin which is Bitcoin, what it makes kind of special compared to all the other digital currencies or PayPals or MasterCards out there. So as you correctly said, there is kind of different layers where you can measure decentralization on the mining level, on the exchange level, on the node level, and so on. So on the mining level, I think we saw a certain amount of centralization. I mean, it's still decentralized, but of course, I think with every mining process, there is a, let's say, a certain economic benefit if you scale things up to a certain size. So if you just have one miner at home and manage it, kind of the additional maintenance costs and electricity costs are way too high. If you scale it up to a certain degree, you get things cheaper. And as this is a very competitive market, I think it's kind of inevitable that a certain amount of centralization will happen. Does it mean that all mining at the hands of 1 or 2 or 3 players? No, it's not like this, but we have to be careful that it doesn't change over time. Second thing is the node level. We still have, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 Bitcoin nodes at the moment. The problem with the nodes that I see is that there is no incentive or no kind of monetary incentive to run a node. So this might be something which need to be looked in. I mean, of course, businesses have an incentive to run a node, but not, let's say, most people. They don't have to run a node. You know that there are many other solutions. And for the exchanges, I must say I'm quite happy for the business environment. There's lots of exchanges. There's lots of choice. I'm very happy with that.
Okay. I believe it's, I couldn't say better about, if it was yesterday, Andreas Antonopoulos said that, I can't say better, that this very organic process of decentralizations or, you know, it's in every industry, it's happening like that, right? It's a wave process, today it's like that, after it will be different, but what is more important, what Mark just mentioned, this incentive for the nodes, because it's they decreasing and it might be a problem in the future. But in mining, this centralization and it's decentralized, we believe, and exchanges also it's enough decentralized. So let's focus on the things which is important at the moment, and the economic will figure out everything else. That's our opinion.
Well, I think centralization, decentralization, it's a sliding scale, and you can define it however you want. I think that today Bitcoin is really small. It's $11 billion market cap. It's really small. It doesn't pose a threat to anyone at this today. I think that we should, as they do in the military, hope for the best, plan for the worst. And governments can still control Bitcoin because they control the on-ramps. You know, they can do KYC at the exchanges. It's not a problem. But what happens in 10 years maybe when you don't need on or off ramps because people stay in Bitcoin? Then what's going to happen? Then maybe governments or other institutions have an incentive to do something about Bitcoin. So I think we have to plan for that. We should lower the surface of attack. We should be as decentralized as possible. And today in this debate, I think the topic here is the scaling debate. I think it's fairly like a no-brainer. Stay at 1 megabyte for now. Do the beautiful solution, which is segregated witness, and try and keep the block size as small as possible, and plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Okay, that's a good point, because it leads me to the next question, which I think is one that everybody wants to hear from you guys, which is about the block size debate. We all know that reaching consensus among human beings is extremely difficult. And especially when you don't have perfect answers, right? But still, it's very interesting for the audience and for all of us to hear from you. What do you think should be the right path going forward in terms of scalability for the Bitcoin blockchain? Shihan, would you like to start?
I think the block size should be increased steadily. The limitation of the technology allows us to do, no matter what kind of technology we will have in the future, like session or lighting network, we also know that to do the settlement on the fundamental layer of Bitcoin, that is what kind of a blockchain we have right now, is very important. For example, the Lightning Network will need to do lots of opening and closing of the channels. If it's a sidechain, two-way peg sidechains will need the coins to be transferred between each two chains. And we also know that the software that, or the ecosystem that have been developed around a certain end of the chain will be hugely difficult. And right now we have this kind of ecosystem that has been built around the blockchain we have right now. So I think that if we can increase the block size in a consensus, that will be the best way for people to go in the short-term future.
I think the discussion around the block size is a lot much overrated. If I can ask, will bigger block size solve the scalability? I don't think so. Will segwit solve scalability? I don't think so. Will both solve scalability? I also don't think so. So there's no silver bullet. There's no single solution which will magically resolve all the things. Again, as I said, we have to resolve all the things and all the issues which we can introduce by adding some new cool features. And well, I think Bitcoin will definitely handle bigger blocks. But I'm not sure if I will choose this instead of segwit. I will take both, and I will take all the other solutions like sidechains and overlay networks, because I think everything has its own place, and we can move forward by doing all these stuff together safely.
Okay, block size. This is this enormous, almost religious debate, so we probably can speak here for hours just about this topic, and hope to not get into a fight over it. The most important thing, I think, is whether you are a small blogger or a big blogger, is I think everyone has the best intention, and that's kind of important to know. Everyone wants to make Bitcoin a success story. It's just kind of the path or the way of thinking is a little bit different, but it's kind of, there is no need to get into a fight over this. As I said, everyone has the best intention. And there are certainly different opinions if the block size needs to be increased and at which point in time. So we now have this wonderful solution, which is segwit, which, as you correctly pointed out, is not kind of a silver bullet for all the problems Bitcoin faces. Yeah, it fixes malleability. It's kind of an increase to an effective block size, let's say, of 2 megabytes. So it will scale to a certain extent. But it's kind of not the fix for everything. We have other things, or the core developers, Peter Todd mentioned it in his talk, that they have other things they are thinking about. Yeah, so there is Schnorr signatures, there are other improvements, SYN blocks, and so on, to improve Bitcoin as it is, and to kind of increase the amount of transactions. He even mentioned in his talk today that he believes in the long term, like 5 years to 10 years, Peter Todd said he can totally imagine that Bitcoin will scale a whole lot more on chain, yeah, with different techniques. I think for now, segwit is a very good solution, but in the kind of looking forward, I would like to see a medium increase of the block size. I basically think that Adam Back's solution of 248 back in these days was a good idea, and unfortunately, history, went in a different direction. But basically, I think we should kind of look into a combination of these things, of new techniques and kind of block size increase.
Marat?
Okay. No, we also believe, I don't want to repeat all my colleagues, and I want to say that yes, eventually it should be increased, but you know, we have to have a plan, right? And we also have to think about it wider. We have to think about other parties involved, like nodes we already talked, right? And so, but also, you know, it's in this discussion about the block, you can see that a lot of new ideas is rising, you know, and all of this brings to evolution of technology around blockchain, around Bitcoin, and I think it's all for best. I think how to say, the system will figure it out, you know, and the people around, so many smart people around who will finally find the solution and take care about it. So no worries.
Okay, Igor.
Yeah, so just to clear, core is not against bigger blocks per se. I think it's a matter of what do we do when. Right now we have SegWit, which was the proposal of one of the smartest people in Peter Really, one of the smartest people in the ecosystem, and like I mentioned before, let's try to keep the attack vector, the attack surface as small as possible. Should we do bigger blocks now, or should we do SegWit now? We should do SegWit now, because we can fix a bunch of issues with Bitcoin that we've been struggling with since the start. And then after that, we can also talk about bigger blocks. I mean, the activation date is, what, 9 days now or something? It's 15th of November. And yeah, and then you mentioned as well, we have things like Lightning Network, which we have to have SegWit first. And then you have sidechains. There's so many beautiful things that is, I think, coming down the pipeline. I think there's not an argument. I think people really agree. It's just been this, it's all this hyperbole, this back and forth, this Twitter fights, you know. But I think for now, SegWit is the way to go, definitely. That we can talk bigger blocks. We're going to have Lightning Network. They're going to fix a lot of problems. We're going to have sidechains. And then we're going to do 1,000 other things which we don't know about today.
Great. We have 5 more minutes, so I would like to sneak 2 questions in one for every single one of you. I would like to hear what you think about proof of stake, if you have any thoughts about it. And then I would also like to hear from you, what do you think, or which are your expectations about smart contracts powered by the Bitcoin network and this coming forward in the future?
Proof of work, we may have a laboratory that the researchers have been doing this for a very long time. And as far as we know, that there's no very secure, very safe, and very decentralized proof of stake exists. It's only a matter of time that this kind of system will be centralized, that to have a certain kind of authority to some checkpoints in the blockchain. So if Bitcoin one day become very permissioned blockchain, and people think that's fine, I think we should change to POS, because it saves lots of energy and waste on the silicon. But if we still want to keep Bitcoin decentralized and it's a monetary system that is free, I think the POW right now is the only choice on the market.
I don't have enough information about proof of stake, because I don't think any major currencies using it successfully. So let's wait for Ethereum, and maybe we will know what they made, if they made it good or bad, and we can learn from this experience. But my opinion is that we should, I'm repeating myself, but we should be really careful about any change, and I don't think this is going to be a topic for Bitcoin.
As a miner, I of course have to say I love proof of work, because for proof of stake there is not much to do for me. There is a nice paper by Bitfury written on that topic, proof of stake versus proof of work. This basically, it shows, let's say, several problems with proof of stake. So it will be interesting to see what Ethereum in the long run can come up with to solve these problems. From a, let's say, global perspective, from the world perspective, I would love to see proof of stake, because proof of work is such a waste, actually, of resources. It's kind of, I mean, we achieve a great thing by that, but it's still a big waste of resources on the global scale. So if there is a way to do it on a proof of stake, in a proof of stake way, I would love to see that, even if I need to find another job then. For smart contracts, I think great things are happening there. I watch it on a daily basis with Ethereum. There is Rootstock coming around the corner, which will be some kind of bringing smart contracts to the Bitcoin blockchain, or as a side chain at least. So I think there will be some amazing things happening with that, and it's kind of in the beginning of the internet where people trying to figure out what can we do with that. So it will be really, really wonderful to see going forward what is happening on this smart contract side.
Okay, yes, thank you, Mark. I mean, for the people, right, who is like, we actually did this white paper about comparison proof of work and proof of stake, and if you're new in this industry, it's nice to go on the website and check. It's quite interesting to read. But about proof of stake and proof of work, proof of stake actually was, as you know, was with proof of stakes, there was a lot of experiments for like years before Bitcoin actually appeared. And proof of stake, it's technology with I think with great opportunities, but it's still young. You know, there is no cases right now what can prove, right? And if we're talking about the proof of work, Bitcoin exists, it's working, and you know, how to say it? Let's see in the future. But of course, it's too comparable. But proof of work is here. About the smart contract. We believe that smart contract it's a great story. It was on top of the Bitcoin. It was strange ecosystem. You know, it will allow to many developers do the great and you know, brilliant things what they cannot do it right now. They're experimenting on Ethereum, but you know, if you will have a choice, I believe most of you will do your product on the more efficient or more sustainable blockchain. So we wish you all the best on this way, and we believe that everything what is going to be on top of Bitcoin blockchain, such as smart contracts, such as Lightning networks, color coins, side chains, it's just drive the evolution further and further.
Is this the last question, or?
Yeah.
Because I want to spend. I brought some gifts for everyone. BTC brought gifts for everyone in the audience. I actually hope I have enough. So I'd rather spend the time doing that if we're done. Oh, one thing, we love rootstock. BTCC loves rootstock. I think, yeah, as you see, yeah, this is consensus. We all love rootstock. Thanks for hosting an awesome conference. We love you. I think just like Segwit, rootstock is a no-brainer. And yeah, it's amazing. And BTC supports it. We're gonna help put all our hashing power on it, which is today is like 12% of the hashing power of Bitcoin. So I think it's just amazing. We love it.
Well, thank you very much. I think we should mention that BTCC has donated one cup that's going to be signed by all the pioneers in the prior panel, and then we're going to auction it at the end of the conference for the charity of BitGive, as we do every year. So we have no more time for questions. Thank you very much. A big round of applause for miners. And thanks for everything you do for the Bitcoin ecosystem.